right, well, 2021's almost in the books. Let's talk about what's happening in Williamston this year.
A lot of stuff going on. Are you talking about right now, or are you talking about?
Let's go back over the year. Let's talk about economic development. What kind of a year for the economies it's been for Williamston?
All right, so it's been a whirlwind of a year. A lot of good stuff going on in Williamston. Obviously, we got Ingalls coming in. That's I believe the highlight of the year. Jim Simpson with Ace Hardware. They're building a new store over on Hamilton Street. So they're almost complete with it. The shell of that building's up, and I think they're going to be trying to move in by the end of the year. So that'll be a big economic boost. Be a lot different in town. So I think town's going to look a lot different in 2022. We're going to start seeing a lot of changes. We hope there'll be good changes. We got some new residential growth coming in, obviously on Brock Lane. We've got an ARC grant in for funding for a trail that will extend from Veterans Park over to Brock Lane to that new subdivision going in over there. We've got interest in Mahaffey Road, that 90 some odd acres over there, potentially up to 90 homes in that area. The details have not yet been worked out completely with the developer. Council's in discussion with them. And then we've also got some interest over on Bigby Street on some property over there for some development. So I met with those developers last week, and a lot of stuff going on.
So the demand for housing is big.
Huge demand for housing in Williamston. If a home goes on the market, typically it's on the market for a day or so, not much more than that. And typically it goes over asking price. So it's definitely a seller's market right now in Williamston.
You've been building a long time. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No. We've experienced some I would say moderate growth this year, but the next 2 years we're expecting unprecedented growth. Well, we know that there's some unprecedented growth because we already have contractual agreements, so we know that's going to happen. But even the things that are still in negotiations and still in talks right now, if those things come to fruition, it's going to be a game changer for Williamston.
Any other new businesses you can have opened here?
So we're expecting by the end of the year to have Rains on Main open, Rains on Main, and I think those folks are kind of doing a lot of the work themselves. So that's taking a little bit longer. Supply and getting materials has been really difficult in 2021. I know that with my company, we've placed orders. I was just checking a while ago in March, and our lead times is March of 2022. So that's 1 year for getting equipment. So that's definitely putting a little bit of a hamper on things. Coming to fruition as quickly as we'd like for them to come to fruition.
And y'all had some more eating places open here too, right?
Yeah, we've got Maple Bakery has opened up this year. That's been man, I'm telling you, those guys are killing it over there. They're doing a fantastic job. If you hadn't had a chance to go by, stop by and see them. They've got excellent bakery items and some of the best coffee anywhere around.
What's your favorite bakery item over there?
My favorite bakery, they have different things. So I think right now is going to be the cheesecake Christmas tree they have up. Somebody brought me one the other day. I don't have a lot of time to get over by there myself, but they brought me one. I'm telling you, it was fantastic. I do like their breakfast muffins too. They got a really good blueberry breakfast muffin as well.
Y'all have done a lot of work in the park this year. Remind people what all's happened over in the Springwater Park this year.
So in addition to the normal decorations we put out, we've had renewed interest from our business owners to come out and put out displays. So we've done that this year. And one important thing we did this year that was a big hit, we had Envision Williamston and the Business Association partner together and bring in and have we call it the Holiday Winterland, the Williamston Holiday Wonderland. And so we had in snow machines, we had all kind of good stuff going on, free carriage rides through the park. We blocked off Main Street, and we was expecting several hundred people to show up for the lighting of the Christmas tree and the reading of the Christmas story. And actually brought in a bunch of kids here in the mayor's office. We did 2 readings of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, so that was a lot of fun. We had cookies and milk for the kids, but whenever I walked out, I was unbelievably impressed. There were not hundreds of people, there were thousands of people out in front of Town Hall. So we had local churches come in and they took part in the reading of the Christmas story. So it was an excellent opportunity. I haven't heard one bad thing about the event. So anytime you can bring people out to gather and to celebrate, particularly in light of all that we've been through in the last 2 years with COVID, it's definitely a good time.
And over the whole year, the Springwater Festival returned, and you did a lot of upgrades in the park as well that'll be permanent kind of.
Yes, we've done a couple of different upgrades that were major upgrades. Number one, we brought in 60 amp circuits, pedestals for food truck vendors. If you'll notice, you come through, now you're liable to see a food truck or two in the park. So that expands our offerings too, and some of the amenities that we're able to offer. But in addition, when we have events, we no longer have to bring generators out. They can plug right up, run their fryers, their air conditioning, whatever it is they need to do. 60 amps is typically able to handle pretty much anything they can come in, even the larger food trucks. So that's
something
been
most
exciting.
citizens wouldn't think about you needing as an upgrade.
Well, listen, there's a lot of electrical out there in the park, so we still got a long ways to go, but we're working toward those things. And so we had that go on. We've also installed a mass notification system out in the park. And what that does, it will allow I can actually sit right here and make an announcement in the park from my desk here at Town Hall, or we can do pre-scheduled announcements, recordings, or even commercials of some of our local business that would play out in the park. The reason we put that in, I grew up in the 80s in the park, 80s and to some extent, I guess the 90s. I came back and after my military service, and I remember them playing Christmas music in the park, and that was always just a special time. Christmas in Mineral Spring Park is always special, and here with the Deck the Halls in Town Hall, and if you walk through those areas now, you will now hear Christmas music playing. But it also serves, as in addition to the Christmas music and the ambient sound of Christmas music, it also has a public safety feature as well. So we're able to notify if there's some type of emergency going on in the park, or even a severe weather or something like that. Those occupants of the park will be notified. So it has a public safety component as well.
And pickleball courts and other things y'all been working on over there?
So pickleball is still on. We're having second reading actually tonight at our council meeting. That's going to end up coming in over budget, and the reason it's going to come in over budget is the soil that was down that's underneath the existing tennis courts has some issues, so they're going to have to do some soil remediation out there to cost about an additional $160,000. So council, we're meeting on that to vote on that tonight and make that determination. Should council vote on it, I would expect work to commence after the holidays, some point in time, January, February, to start the soil remediation. And then they have to have, for proper paving and the application of the acrylic onto the pavement for pickleball, they have to have, I think, 70-degree weather or something like that. So it'll likely be spring before we'd actually see the transformation take place.
And the park continues to be like a centerpiece for public life here in Williamston.
It is.
Like I said, the Springwater Festival is huge, and I see more people over there now than I've seen in a long time.
Our town was founded on Mineral Spring Park. I dare to say, our people are our number one asset, but I dare say that our park, which is very likely the oldest public park in the United States, is definitely our second most important asset, following close behind our people. And so it's visited. It draws thousands of people out each year, and our objective is to keep it looking good and to expand those offerings that we have in the park.
And what are some of the other accomplishments from the year? I know, again, some of the things people don't notice. I know that you upgraded some sewer and wastewater stuff. You've got some others. What are some other accomplishments for 2021 in Williamston?
So we've got several sewer upgrades have taken place. We've had water lines replaced on Green Street. We've upgraded those lines, so that's allowing for additional growth. One of the biggest things that we've done, and the county partnered with us on that, is purchasing the capacity back at our wastewater treatment plant. That plant was built about 10 to 12 years ago, and we're already getting to a point where we need to expand our plant or to purchase those additional capacity that the county owned that did not use. So thanks to the ARPA funds that came in, we were able to purchase that capacity outright. That's 300,000 gallons a day for $300,000, which is a bargain. To put that in perspective, to expand our plant, it would take roughly $20 per gallon. So 300,000 times 20, that's more money than what we would have to be able to accomplish that. So we're thankful for our partners at County Council, Rusty Burns, Cindy Wilson. Those folks worked really, really hard for us. Again, it was unnecessary capacity for them, unneeded capacity, but we desperately needed it, and we was able to make that happen. That's a done deal. The city now has 1 million gallons per day in capacity, which should serve us from now to the next 20, 30 years. So that helps us maintain control of our destiny, and we're grateful for that. We've got several sewer upgrades going on that are currently coming out of engineering phase and now getting ready to be in the bid phase. One of which is replacing the sewer line from the sewer plant all the way back out to Main Street through the park. Used to, if we had torrential rains, it would not be uncommon to see sanitary sewer overflows going out in the park and nearby the creek. Again, our park's one of our biggest assets. That is not something we want to see happen. So that line should replace that. We've also got a major sewer project on our outfall line. So when the wastewater leaves our treatment plant, it is treated, it's clean, it has to go out and be disposed of into the Saluda River. That outfall line actually follows the Big Creek's pathway all the way to the Saluda River. And we found a location over off Big Creek Road in the middle of the woods. It's very hard to access, but we actually found it using Google Earth Maps, a pretty major washout that had washed that line out. And so it's laying exposed on the side of Big Creek. It's not dumping into Big Creek, but it certainly needs to be shored up. So we received a loan to have that fixed, and the amounts are roughly $500,000 to have it fixed, but we found out recently that's going to be a forgivable loan. So once that work is complete, that loan will be completely 100% forgiven. So that's a big deal for Williamston as well. That's $500,000 we didn't have and didn't anticipate spending that we're going to have to spend. So we got several major projects in the works, some of which are in the grant phase, some of which have already been awarded, and some of which will be funded totally with ARPA funds. And that wastewater treatment plant I talked about first, from the wastewater treatment plant back to Main Street, we're paying for that outright. There is no grants or anything available to back that up, but it's something council feels strongly about that we need to correct, we need to fix to be able to sustain the growth of the town that we all know and want to see.
We got all the final census numbers in. How will that affect Williamston going forward?
I haven't seen those census numbers yet. I know that it's affected us. The biggest way is by the redistricting you see on the state level. I think the General Assembly's meeting even as we speak to determine what that looks like for Williamston. I don't think it's going to affect us a whole lot. It is obviously good data to be able to be used for grant processes and that type of thing. But I don't know that data is going to affect us a whole lot.
Anything else closing out this year you wanted to mention that has been good for the town this year, the city this year?
Oh, we've got some roofing upgrades going on at Town Hall.
A lot of these things you're talking about, it's interesting. People don't get excited about, but until something terrible happens, then they realize you hadn't been doing it.
Well, we've kicked the can, down the road for a number of years on a lot of issues, particularly with our public utilities. That's water and sewer. And what people need to realize that water and sewer, those are both enterprise funds. They are totally separate and have to be by state statute separate from our town general fund. So in doing those upgrades to our water and sewer, we received close to $2 million in ARPA funds. And my objective is to leverage those funds as much as possible with additional grant funding, be it federal or state funding. That way I can take $200,000 of that money and turn that into $1 million. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Williamston, and I think for most municipalities across the state, to be able to make some real noticeable changes and improvements to their public utilities. Now, those aren't sexy things. There's nothing sexy about a sewer line, and for the most part, people don't even realize it. They flush their toilet and it goes down, and they don't think a thing in the world about it. But that's something that stays on my mind daily, because I know what it takes to operate a sanitary sewer system. I know what it takes to operate a water system. And the biggest thing it takes is a whole lot of money. And like I said, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, those federal funds that came down, to make a big difference for years to come with our public utilities.
We've mentioned this other times, but 2021 was another year where cooperative efforts between West Pelzer and Williamston and Pelzer has helped do some things for the community as well. And just mention to people what that's about. Sure,
I can give you just a prime example. Was last week. The town of Williamston does not own a bucket truck. We've got a trailer with a lift on it, but it's very cumbersome to go set up, particularly along Main Street. You have to put out outriggers, and you have to have people stop in traffic, things of that nature. Pelzer has a bucket truck. We've got additional staff that we partnered up with Will, the mayor of Pelzer, and I had a couple guys of the town of Williamston crew that were following behind the bucket truck with the decorations on a trailer, and they were able to pass that up to the guy in the bucket truck, hang it up. So what normally took us 2 or 3 days to hang up decorations, we were able to knock out Williamston and Pelzer's decorations that hang along their main streets in one day. So those are little things that we're working together with. There may be other things in the future we can work together on. But the three amigos, we're constantly in contact with one another, and where there's a need, if they need something from us, we're there for them. We've helped them out quite a bit with water and sewer and stuff like that. We've got equipment they may not have, and vice versa. So that cooperative partnership has been extremely important for not only each town, but for our residents as well.
I know one other thing comes to mind that happened this year in Williamston is your new fire chief.
Yes.
It's the first time you've had a full-time, right?
First time we've had a full-time paid fire chief, and matter of fact, he just left my office just a few minutes ago. He has worked; it's been phenomenal for Williamston. I can't tell you a single call that has came out, because I listen to those calls. As soon as that fire siren goes off, we hear car one en route. So the response time is second to none. I would put us right up there with some of the other full-time paid firemen. Our ISO, I believe we're a class 3, which is unheard of for a predominantly volunteer agency. So we've got a capital improvement plan we're working on through our budget cycle, and that's been a tremendous asset for Williamston, absolutely.
And we're looking ahead now. 2022 is almost here. What priorities or things that are on the agenda for you and council going into the first few months of 2022?
So we'll start meeting probably March, and we'll lay out what our objectives and priorities are. What do we want to see happen in the ensuing year, and then we'll prioritize those things and try to put them together. One of the big initiatives that I would like to see is with our hospitality tax. I would like to take a hard look at hospitality tax and see what those revenues are generated. I know what those are, but we may need to bond out a portion of hospitality tax, a small portion of it, to accomplish some big things. Those big things may be a trail system. It could be a splash pad. It could be, whatever council's desire is. But I think that our objective should be to build things that will continue to offer amenities and attract people to our town that will in turn come to spend money in our town and generate additional hospitality tax. You want to see that hospitality tax continue to grow, and we've seen that in the last 12 months, and I think we'll see that in 2022 as well.
Anything else y'all are forecasting out here? Any other goals you'd like to see coming up?
We got some restroom improvements in the park. Again, those have been slow going. I expected to have those done by now. One of the issues is getting partitions. They're about 6 months out. So little things like that. We're in a very difficult and very unique time in 2021. Just getting materials has been absolutely unbelievably difficult. Fortunately, we do have a roof going on Town Hall. That was $500,000 of unbudgeted expense. But whenever I took over, I got to noticing we had leaks everywhere in Town Hall when it would rain. And subsequently, we're starting to notice some wood rot and stuff like that. So these folks that won the bid on it, CE Bourne Company, I believe they're out of Greenwood, they're doing a phenomenal job. We had to hire an engineer to come in and look at it, and they're making some structural replacements of boards and stuff like that. We've had leaks in the past, and hopefully that'll be again, that's not a sexy thing, but hopefully it's something that will last us for many, many years to come.
So, kind of wrapping up, 2021's been a really good year to get back on track with the pandemic kind of easing up a little bit. And
yeah, we're hoping to see a lot more events too. That's one thing that will be an objective of mine is sometime in January, I would like to see a listing of those events that at least are larger events that will be taking place all year, and go ahead and put that out and start promoting them now. I think the more people are aware of it, they can get it penciled in their calendar, the more people will show up and attend those events. So 2021 was tremendously successful for events, and I think 2022 will be even more so. We're already working and doing some debriefing on the Winter Wonderland, which again, that was tremendously successful. That was just a week or so ago. And we're trying to figure out how we can make that even more so in 2022. But all that starts planning early, at least 12 months before the events take place.